So, good morning. I'm going to talk about a pretty, in my book at least, unusual use case of OpenBSD that I recently learned about from a customer, and that's OpenBSD running on X-ray machines. So, that means we're working in a medical environment which has pretty unique challenges. What is this doing here? Okay. Medical environment means certification, 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 and if you're done with that, even more certification. That also means major changes are hard to do because they require recertification and then another certification and another certification, which in turn means fixing problems there is really hard, and you've got to get your stuff right on the first shot pretty much. At the same time, the equipment there has very, very long lifetime. It's not the usual lifetime we're used to in the IT industry. It is outright impossible to get remote access to these systems. There actually is a little bit of remote access, but when that remote access is active, the machine is rendered unusable and the operator screen goes all red and it's not operable anymore. You cannot legally get any data off these machines, not even something as simple as a request rate, because everything is considered medical data and it's illegal to get it off the machine. The usual incremental development model we mostly use just doesn't work there. To make things even harder, the field engineers that go to the hospitals and doctors' offices installing these machines are X-ray specialists, not IT people. They are not sysadmins. They know nothing about computer space. They can exchange the box, but they cannot even log in or examine anything. Or, well, they might be able to reboot them, but that's about the best thing you can hope for. And they are certainly not going to debug networking problems for you. You're dealing with patient data all the time, and another area I frequently deal with is the credit card industry. So there you're under PCI regime, which is pretty annoying, to be honest, and somewhat challenging. But a stolen credit card number that can be voided and replaced by a new one, patient data is different. If that X-ray picture is leaked to the public, changing the medical fact, showing like a broken bone or breast cancer or anything, well, changing that is pretty hard. The modern digital X-ray machines are surprisingly complex. We're dealing with machines ranging from compact machines that can be pushed around basically to the patient's bed or even used in areas with very little infrastructure. These are kind of uncommon. And the more common way is actually fully equipped X-ray rooms. I'm going to show a picture of that soon. The modern digital X-ray machines aren't actually just X-ray machines, they are digital fluoroscopy machines. Think of X-ray as a picture and the digital fluoroscopy as a movie. That's basically what it comes down to. So you can use these machines to see the joint in motion, stuff like that. Inside these X-ray machines, you have several network systems. It's all Ethernet inside. And these machines have to be connected to the hospital or doctor's office's network, of course. The inside those machines, or installations, because it really isn't just one machine, the most basic components they all have, there's a generator for the high voltage part that in turn feeds the X-ray tube and several control circuits around them. You have some kind of image sensor, and in new machines it's digital and wireless. you have supporting equipment like the table that the patient is on, and this is usually motorized and computer controlled, so this is part of the machine as well. And there's real-time requirements for that, but this is not a OpenBSD machine. You have stuff like foot switches for the operators, and of course there is a workstation for like the main operator that takes these pictures. This is what that looks like. You see the patient. What you actually don't see is the OpenBSD machine in here, but you do see what we are examining. I might point this out. It's an X-ray puffy, right? The OpenBSD machine and other control equipment is in an equipment rack which is just somewhere hidden. The X-ray machine, in turn, is connected to a radiology information system. And basically, the workflow is there's a request for X-raying some part of the body being sent to, well, the X-ray machine or the X-ray room or however you want to put this, because the machine doesn't really cut it anymore, I think. And they'll do the X-ray examination and send that record back with all the images attached. And these images go to an archiving system, and well, the workflow obviously is the pictures are being examined and diagnosis being done and everything. To complicate matters, new digital X-ray machines are still very complex beasts, but they do have digital sensors that are just connected to Ethernet, and we deal with them just like most other pieces of network environment. However, since these machines tend to be pretty expensive, there's a plethora of different ways to retrofit old systems. And the most common one, what happens on this one? Yes, the most common one is to replace the old analog film that was used to take the X-ray pictures by a digital cassette, which still works kind of the same way the old analog film worked, which then is being removed and inserted into a digital reader, which then supplies that picture to the X-ray machine systems, the modern part. Now, whatever vendor supplies the X-ray machine, there's only a single vendor for these cassette systems. It's a Japanese one, actually. I cannot say who it is, unfortunately. To complicate matters, this reader is sometimes not connected to the internal Ethernet network of the X-ray machine or systems, but connected to the outside. The reader is just a very bad example or a very good example of the challenges you deal with in that environment. Whereas, as I mentioned, there's a single vendor. And that vendor has no competition, so there's no incentive to improve things. When you approach them saying, FTP is a kind of bad protocol, they basically go like, yeah, so we'd like something newer, better. Interesting. There's no incentive for them to fix it, because switching to something which is better than FTP requires recertification, and that is expensive. And well, as I said, there's no competition anyway, so why would they? In the end, that means you still feel the wonders of FTP and similar beauties in other areas. The internal network in the X-ray machine and the external network, usually the hospital network, have to be the same layer 2 network, which means you're bridging and not routing one of the reasons for that is the weird location of the readers and retrofitted systems, but there actually is more. This basically is unavoidable. You have to be bridging. And opposed to the errors we usually deal with, like an interrupted data transfer or something like that, usually it's just annoying bad and you have to repeat the data transfer. In this case, an interrupted data transfer between the sensor and the imaging station is considered bodily injury because you have to redo the X-ray process. That could even go to legal consequences. So this really boils down to you want to isolate the internal parts of an X-ray machine as much from the hospital network as possible so that nothing can interrupt your data transfer from the image sensor to the imaging station. And at the same time, it's the same layer 2 network. Yes, exactly. Most X-ray machine vendors attack the problem by doing nothing. However, Philips has an OpenBSD machine in their X-ray machines for more than 10 years already, and I had no idea until last year. So they are actually doing the right thing and try to shield the internal network from the hospital, while many others don't. Yes?
The scary thing is the person who did that probably has gone to these conferences.
He hasn't.
Oh, he hasn't? You know him?
Yes, because he's still working there.
Oh.
His name is on the last slide, Holger Mikula. You have not met him, I think. The system they are using has evolved over time, of course, but it's always been an embedded i386. The first version had 4, Ethernet ports, the current versions have 5. There's no switch inside, so all the systems are connected to that little OpenBSD machine. Since we are dealing with a layer 2 network, it obviously runs bridge and PF. So in the end, OpenBSD on X-ray machines, it is justifiable, really. Sorry for using that as a spoiler to get you visiting this talk. I just think it's a very interesting use case. The way they use it, they kind of have to. It is a custom RAM disk because these machines can be powered off any time, especially the compact mobile units. They might just pull the plug, so there's nothing that shuts down the machine. And as I mentioned, the field engineers that aren't on site all the time anyway, they are X-ray specialists, they're not IT people. So a machine that has not properly shut down, it doesn't come up, even if you just have to enter something like, yes, I want to invest check or whatever it is not going to happen. If the machine doesn't work the way it's supposed to, it's going to be exchanged, and that's going to be pretty costly. So in the end, they don't really have a chance but using a RAM disk that kind of works all the time. On top, in the OpenBSD tree, we only use the RAM disks for the installation movement. And this is obviously not cutting it in this case because it doesn't even have bridge and PF, which is why they need a custom one. They do add the bridge, they do add PF and some basic tools for, they can't remotely access them anyway, really, but there's SSH on down, there's stuff like TCP dump, which they're not allowed to use in production, but it's there. This certification doesn't really cover that. So there is no persistent configuration on the OpenBSD system. So the OpenBSD system is the same on each and every X-ray machine they installed over the last 10+ years. There is a management system inside that connects to all the little systems in an X-ray machines and sets them up and configures them. And on the OpenBSD host, there is a magic IP address, the same one in each and every X-ray machines. And once again, they did the right thing. They did not just use any private range and hope that the hospital isn't using it. They actually use a dedicated public /24 for that. I was pretty surprised how well this was done before already. That management system doesn't just set up things like the appearances and doesn't just set up things like the appearances. It also configures the PF rules and bridge rules depending on the installed equipment inside the X-ray machine. So as I mentioned, in the end, it's just a firewall. But, well, while PF really provides everything one can wish for filtering IP traffic, my view there might be slightly biased. There is, as I mentioned, this is layer 2, the bridge, and there's ARP. And that is the problem here. ARP is basically for the IP to MAC address mapping, right? And if an outside system claims an internal IP address, like it advertises its MAC address for an internal IP address, we are in the position, or we are hitting the problem where the data transfer between the image sensor and the imaging station might be interrupted. And this, as I mentioned, is pretty dramatic in this case. So we want to prevent that. And the usual case, the usual way to prevent this is, well, not using the same layer 2 network. Doesn't work. The next possible way to prevent this is static MAC address to IP mappings on all remote systems. Not feasible because there's a lot of third-party systems in there. So what do? Basically, we need to filter ARP. How does ARP work? An ARP packet is pretty simple. ARP, in theory, is address family independent. However, it's only being used for IPv4, really. An ARP packet is relatively simple. You have the H type, the hardware address type, which is always Ethernet, because there's nothing else that matters. You have the protocol address type, which for the one and only protocol is that value. The hardware address length, well, as said, on Ethernet, that's well defined. Protocol address length was, again, there only is 4, there's nothing else matters anyway. The operation, request, reply, there also is reverse ARP requests and reverse ARP replies, and there is another that just doesn't really exist in practice. So was it in ARP? I've never seen this before. It doesn't exist in the wild. And these are the important bits. You have the sender hardware address, which is the MAC address, and the same for the target, and the protocol addresses, which are IP addresses. So, how's that working? An ARP request. If a host 10.0.0.1 with that totally not made up MAC address wants to talk to 10.0.0.2, it does send an ARP request to the Ethernet broadcast address, which is all once, surprise. The operation, of course, is request. The sender hardware address is its own MAC address. The sender protocol address is its own IP address. And the target hardware address is basically random. It's ignored by the receiver. The target protocol address is the one that's requested, 10.0.0.2. From that packet, 10.0.0.2 learns 10.0.0.1 is at that MAC address because it's in the source hardware and source protocol address. The reply from 10.0.2 to that totally not made up MAC address is sent to the MAC address of the requesting system. This is not broadcast. The operation is reply. The sender's hardware address is its own MAC address. The sender's protocol address is its own IP address. The target hardware address is the one of the requesting system. And the target protocol address is the one, the IP address of the requesting system as well. Actually, the standard says THA and TPA are copied from SHA and SPA of the request. Directions are makes things slightly more complicated, but this is the basic operation. So to prevent mislearnings in the vein of we cannot use static mappings on the inside systems, we need to filter these ARP announcements. And, well, PF can't do it because PF works on the IP layer. It doesn't even see the Ethernet headers. The obvious place to do that is in the bridge. And the bridge already has filters. However, those filters cannot peek inside our packets. Well, they cannot, could not. It is surprisingly easy to add this to the bridge. The function that peeks into the ARP announcements and is able to filter on them is really just 40 lines of code. Of course, there's a little bit of infrastructure around it. You need the I/O fiddles and the headers, and structure definitions. But it really is not all that much. I think the entire diff was some 400 lines or so. Oh yes, it says 400 lines, including the man patch. The nasty bit really was the rule parser in IF-config, because that is such a weird beast. Whoever is looking for a project, here is one. This is an example of how things work now. So in OpenBSD, we got rid of the R config, right? This is merged into IF config. So it's IF config, whatever bridge device you want to deal with, rule, and well, here you block from the outside based on the source protocol address, so a request from the outside claiming an appeal from the inside. That. This blocks requests from the outside with our MAC address. This is not new, this already worked. And, well, the slightly more complicated ones are down here. So, filter on ARP requests, ARP replies. You can filter on all fields, but the most interesting really is the source hardware address and protocol address. As I mentioned, it works kind of the same for reverse ARP. RAR.
If you're blocking that, how do you learn the mechanism?
Well, the inside systems can still talk to each other, right? So the inside systems learn the MAC addresses, and we pass the requests where outside systems learn from the inside systems. Like the legend ones we let through. You're just blocking the ones where an outside system is trying to claim an inside MAC address or inside IP address. The legit ones are still being passed. So the ARP filter had to give enough control to allow that, obviously. Yes, you cannot just block all ARP learning in that location. For reverse ARP, it works just the same with the RAR keyword instead of ARP, and that inf ARP thing I just didn't implement because I've never seen that in the wild and I don't think it exists. So why did I do this in Bridge? Is Buddha-san in the room? No. Yes. The future in OpenBSD is definitely not a Bridge. The future in OpenBSD is Switch because that is much better. It's Japanese code, so it's perfect. Bridge is American code, so it's not good. Unfortunately, Switch, as it is today, doesn't have filters. And adding filters to Switch was completely out of scope for this project. This was a consulting gig at Pullips, right? So this was not feasible, unfortunately. We're really talking about layer 2 filters here. And I don't think that layer 2 filters only make sense when you're bridging. There are many scenarios where you want layer 2 filters when you're not bridging. So what we really should do is add layer 2 filters that are independent of the bridge and independent of switch, so it's not your problem. Oh, maybe it should, but whatever. So we should have layer 2 filters that are independent from bridge or switch, but we don't have that. Another interesting implication we ran into The bridge filters don't have logging. They don't have logging at all. But you kind of want that because you want to see what you're blocking. And adding that is surprisingly complex, and we ended up not doing it. What we already have in PF, we have PF log. And PF log, using the PCAP format, using DPF, has everything we want there. So it's all there already. And there actually is a lot more infrastructure in PF for filtering. We might want to use for generic layer 2 filters. However, PF doesn't even see packets that are not IP because the entry points to PF in OpenBSD and in all the other systems that inherited it are an IP input and IP output. So that's IP packets, not Ethernet frames, and not non-IP Ethernet frames. So what are we doing here? And I'm pretty much talking out of my ass here because we haven't done any of this. We could try to add layer 2 filtering to PF because it said we have all the infrastructure there and it's really compelling. That would mean that we have to add new entry points that are way lower in the stack. And we could even have rules, and this sounds so nice, that combine matching on this layer 2 fields, like the Ethernet source MAC address and destination MAC address and the higher layers that we already have. But really, if you look a little bit closer, this gets so nasty. What are we doing with a rule that refers to MAC addresses that sees a when we see a packet that is not Ethernet? And at the same time, what do we do with a rule that wants to match on IP header fields and gets a non-IP Ethernet frame? On top of that, moving entry points into PF and that thing. Well, they say it's tricky, that must be the understatement of the year. That is nasty as hell. So this is not going to cut it really. I think the way to attack this problem is to reuse a lot of the PF code. But you pretty much have to make the separate rule set for layer 2 matching because before the combination is just not going to work out. Open question is whether there should be a separate section inside the same PF code we have, or even completely separate. The nice side effect of doing that is it would make the transition from bridge to the perfect Japanese switch code much easier because right now the filters are one of the blocking issues from getting rid of bridge. So whoever's looking for a project, here's will be my guest, I'll happily help. Couple of lessons learned in the process there. The 3-letter agencies did not tamper with the hardware of my phone. At least not obviously. There is an unfinished puppy growing inside my laptop. You see it, right? And really, this already is the end of my talk. I have to thank a couple of people. I have to thank Pullips because they allowed me to openly talk about this. They allowed me to openly say that this is a Pullips machine and not anonymous. And if they ever try to employ you, it has been a breeze to work with them. This is a really, really, really nice environment. And my host at Pullips, Holger Mikkola, so there he is. And as far as I know, he has not been at any BSD conference before. I don't know, that might change. Was not only a fantastic host at Pullips, but he also had papers. And That's it. Any questions? Yes?
Why do we have gold on your hand?
White gloves. Because everybody in Japan who's doing something semi-official is wearing white gloves. I have to adapt to the wonderful culture of Japan.
You said they've been having the same image on the machine for the last 10 years. Have they been updating the kernel as they're manufacturing new machines, or they have one version that they developed?
It was running the same software for 10 years. But it's been, this was the reason why they got me to help them to update it. It's been updated to OpenBSD 6.2 now. And they will probably run 6.2 for the next 5 to 10 years.
Certification is expensive.
Yes. Suddenly PCI looks easy. And I think PCI level 2 is annoying. Yes. But yeah, this is different. Yeah.
You talked about real X-ray machine by healthcare. Real machine. Who developed the operating system?
I have helped them to update it now and to do the up filter. They had an internal version of this. This was done by Holger. It was basically his bachelor thesis.
Yeah, that would be a version.
No. Not yet. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention this. They, Philips said is doing the right thing. They are going to roll this out to their CT and MRI machines as well. Because they share pretty much the same problem. Yes, Paul?
Don't the certification agencies have a problem with Thacker using FTP?
The certification agencies have no problem with FTP. Just have to write a lot of documentation and justification. Then it's okay.
I was thinking with medical information and security, they might care about transmitting information over plain text. And
you know, it's the same way certification works everywhere. It's not about security, it's about a lot of paperwork. And a lot of money, of course. Okay. One more, yeah.
So at the end, all of this is probably like the image probably being viewed on a Windows machine or something like that, I guess. And we don't actually look at it.
Isn't the weather nice today?
It's working with a super secure system, and then
At least it's isolated.
I mean isolated or whatever. We don't care about that.
It's not distributed real-time Java. Actually,
my point
see,
is not
you think this is a joke, but the German high-speed trains use Java for their emergency brakes. They could not get certified for more than a year because between pulling the emergency brake and the train actually braking, there was a delay of more than a second, which is not allowed. So, this is a pretty sane setup.
I guess the question, the observation is more like
The operator's workstation runs Windows, yes.
so at the end you can have all the certification, or even if the certification was perfect and everything in there was perfect, and you bring it on the Windows machine, then where is the risk?
Yeah, well, but at least it's completely isolated from the outside.
Or even like the machine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is all behind the OpenBSD merge.
It's
There's basically no way to access it from the outside except sending that I need X-ray picture requests and sending the records back with images attached. So that is a pretty same setup. I got to go now.